So last week, I covered plants that weren't doing so well in my garden. In fact, I'd consider them probably failures or something I wouldn't grow again. This week, I want to share with you the real standouts, the ones that do extremely well in my garden. Let's dive into it. Hello and welcome to Sproutlogic Gardening. So what does it mean to be a standout plant? What is that exactly? Well, for me, what it means is something that's going to do really well in the location it's provided. So there's a couple things or factors that play into that, of course. Number one, it's going to be climate. That's the right plant for the right climate. So for your area specifically, it's going to thrive typically. Number two, low maintenance. This is not something we need to continually chase after, feed, trim. We don't want to be dealing with that typically. Number three, it provides benefit to nature, of course. I want to make sure whatever it is, it's actually giving back to nature, attracting pollinators, feeding them, and making sure that it's taking care of things from that side. And lastly, also something I consider probably drought tolerant, something that I don't need to consistently water, chase after. That's another thing when it comes to maintenance, but it also stands out on its own because everything needs to be watered ultimately. So I want to show you the first plant that falls into this category. So my first standout plant is lavender, without a shadow of a doubt. Now there's actually two varieties here. There's a French and an English lavender. When I look at them, of course, I really can't tell a difference. They look exactly the same. So for me, lavender. Now what I will say is, one of my viewers actually had commented on a video a while ago. They're like, hey, I really struggle with lavender. I have a hard time growing it. It's interesting to me. The funny thing is, when I grow this, I simply just put it in this spot right here, and I barely touch it or mess with it. I don't give it fertilizer. I water it every so often. In fact, it's tied up to my irrigation system, but I think one of the lines might even be busted, so it's not getting water consistently. And this thing just grows. Now, this has actually been here a couple years, and it started off as a tiny, tiny little plant. Both of these were very small, like 6 inches or less. And now if you look at them, they're massive, covered in bumblebees. In fact, there's probably only about 10 of them on here right now. Traditionally, there's probably 40 or 50 bees sitting here at any one time. But for me, lavender has been really standout. Super easy to take care of. It loves the spot I've given it. It's good for this climate. It's perennial here, which means it's going to come back every single year. I don't have to continually plant a new one, which, by the way, I prefer perennials typically over annuals, just for that reason. I don't like having to start over again and worry about planting something new and, bringing it up to speed. So for me, lavender has been a real win. And then drought tolerant, I ignore this plant most of the time. It's totally fine. So lavender has been one of those ones that really has been doing great in my garden. I want to share with you another one that's actually pretty close to it right now. So when I said the next plant was close to lavender, I literally meant right next door. So this is echinacea. Now echinacea for me is another real solid standout plant. For me, it's very, very foolproof. This thing you can just basically plant in the ground and it'll just do its thing. One thing to note, of course, and I learned this last year when I got it, you'll see there's a smaller one behind it here. Typically in its first year of planting, if you're getting a smaller plant, it won't flower as much. So you'll probably get 2, 3, maybe 4 flowers. Well, this is year 2, and look at it. There's probably like 8 to 10 flowers on it with another 12 coming up behind. So, when you give it time to settle in its place, it rewards you. Now, why is echinacea for me a standout? Extremely easy to take care of. Really drought resistant, great for pollinators and wildlife, just like the lavender. Right now, there's actually bees sleeping on it because it hasn't warmed up enough in the morning to get them rolling. But on any day, I'll see probably 40 to 50 bees over here as well, just hanging out in the echinacea. And then, of course, for me, it's right for my climate. Both these plants, I should mention, do really, really well in my climate. I'm in zone 8A. So they thrive. They prefer full sun. And, with the random weather, they still perform quite well. So let me take you over to the next plant. So this next one was actually quite a surprise for me. I was nervous. I haven't had such great luck with roses so far the past couple of years. This is a Cloud 10 climbing rose. So it's Bolero adjacent. I believe the genetics are mixed with Bolero roses, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me in the comments if that's wrong. I might be wrong there. But whatever it's mixed with, it does extremely well. I'm not dealing with black spot, mold, mildew, and the growth has been fantastic. So climbing roses, of course, I had to put it up against. I have an old satellite dish in the back that I'm using to kind of train this to grow over it, so I don't have to look at this dish anymore. But what I've found is it's actually perfect for this climate. And then on top of that, it is very drought resistant. I don't really pay attention to this rose either, to be honest. I don't water. It's not hooked up to the irrigation system. For the most part recently, it's been rain that's been watering it, and I've seen zero problems. It just grows and does its thing. So that's definitely beneficial there. Speaking of beneficial, I also see bees and butterflies visiting this rose quite often, which is weird because most of the time I don't see really many bees or butterflies messing with roses for the most part. They tend to ignore it. So, this one for me has been a slam dunk. Super simple, other than the training, which I have to tie it up so it doesn't just sprawl out across the ground. It has been really easy to take care of, and generally it's been very rewarding to have. So I'll take you over to the next one on the list. So this one has been a shocking surprise, we'll say. So this is a spin top. Traditionally, this is an annual. Now, remember what I said in the beginning, I actually prefer perennials when it comes to growing flowers and stuff. I don't like to have to deal with planting something over and over again. So I filled in a blank spot last year. There was nothing here. I said, I saw it at the store. I didn't really know what it was. And I said, I'm going to plant it. Well, first off, it is covered in flowers constantly. Second off, it's covered in bees constantly. This thing is loaded, again, 40, 50, maybe even 60 bees at a time will come visit this and be all over it. In fact, right now I'm surprised because normally they're asleep on here during the morning. I don't see any right now, but I'd imagine sometimes they go underneath as well. So yeah, this has been great for wildlife. Also, drought tolerant, doesn't really care about getting watered, low maintenance, it takes care of itself. And for the climate, I think based on the growth, it kind of takes care of itself here. The interesting thing, again, annual. So last year it died back, and I typically fill my beds in with just normal leaves to protect the perennials that they go through the winter. Well, lo and behold, this thing blew me out of the water. It came back. It came back with a vengeance. This is double the size it was at last year. So I guess in my area, while normally it's considered an annual, this is a perennial. I mean, it's going to come back, and I imagine it'll continue to do so. And I'm happy because really it's beautiful, and it provides a lot of benefit to the garden here. So let me show you the last plant on this list. So last and certainly not least, marigolds. This is another performer that just keeps performing without anything. For me, very drought resistant, great for my climate. When we talk about wildlife, it is extremely beneficial to wildlife, but there's a bonus that it provides. So studies have shown that planting these near other plants will typically reduce aphids being around or other things. In fact, what I'm to understand is they actually use some of the chemicals that are in marigolds in bug repellents or bug spray to take care of any kind of pests. So for me, they have been absolutely amazing. Now, this is an annual. This is not something that'll come back, but every year I plant it. In fact, I typically plant it amongst other plants. I did a little experiment over on the hybrid tea roses where they were having aphid problems. I planted 2 or 3 of these, and I don't see any more aphids. So it's doing its thing. I see bees on these constantly, butterflies, all kinds of different things fly around and enjoy them. If you compare it to this very sad-looking bee balm in the middle, I won't say where I got it, but I'm definitely not happy with the results. This is a replacement for the original one I got. Not great, but no comment there. We're talking about marigolds. So for me, marigolds really kind of round out this list. Every year I'm going to plant them. They have multiple uses in the garden, not just enjoying, and they really are another solid standout plant. So let's wrap this video up, and I'll kind of walk you through some other things to consider when we're talking about standout plants. So those are just 5 standout plants. I could probably show you 40 minutes of video for more plants that I would consider to be standout. And keep in mind, the factors I gave, those aren't like the end-all be-all. It's got to be these things to be a standout. You're the gardener. It's up to you what you find to be standout. Maybe it's flower shape. Maybe you prefer annuals. That's totally your choice, and that's absolutely fine. This is just more of a guideline to kind of help you and show you the ways that I typically look at plants to view them to be standout or performing in my garden. Now, I have a bonus mention, actually 2 of them to be exact. Behind me, of course, I always typically shoot over here is the wildflower bed that I have. Wildflowers are extremely important. In this modern age, right now, these are disappearing. We're wiping fields out completely to build new things, and nature needs this. Not the roses, not the fancy plants they have selling in the garden centers. They need wildflowers. These are very, very important for all kinds of different things. So this is another plant that I'd probably say is an honorable mention. And then clover in the lawn is another honorable mention. These things are extremely important to the environment. And you know, the thing about gardening is we want to be able to enjoy nature, we also need to make sure we're giving back to it a bit. We need to make sure we continue that trend because unfortunately, if we don't, there's a future where we might not be able to enjoy it as much. So, hope this video was helpful. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.